starting to build their campus. Now they went from leasing. And I said, okay, all you that are working over here, now you coming over here to the campus, which we own. That means now the costs are more fixed, even though the upfront cost may cost you, a nice penny in the beginning. But over time, and especially if you have some level of sustainability, that level of ownership starts to really kick in and becomes a gangbuster, becomes a part of exponential growth, compounding interest. And the sobering truth in the bottom, poverty is often identity driven before it is economic. I'm going to say that again. Poverty is often identity driven before it is economic. Fix the root. That means fix the thing that's inside of us. Fix how you see yourself. Fix what clothes you put on. Fix how, what you put in your body, what you put on your body, where you get your nails done, where you get your hair done, where you get your hair cut, where you get your clothes. You start fixing all that. And as the continuation of the sentence says, and the fruit changes. Now, people would love to say, oh, the fruit is bougie. The fruit think they're uppity. The fruit think they're this, and the fruit think they're that, and they're all right. And at the same time, it's all wrong. All it is that you've dispelled the identity and you're moving in the vibration that vibrates with you. And then when you find other people who are vibrating that same identity, you start to notice. The more and closer you get to the top of the mountain, there's always less people. That's why you start at rich. And then when you get to that next part of the mountain, now you're dealing with the wealthy people. Now these are the people that are probably running in systems. Okay, we got some systems working here, this, that, and the third. And then by the time you get to affluent, now you're at stewardship mode. Now we're talking about, we have we have this multinational corporation and we got subsidiaries over here and we got to fly to Thailand to do this. And, we got to go to the West Coast for that. We got to send this person over there because something's happening in New York. Oh, you're stewarding now. Oh, you're affluent. That's why here in the Comeback Collective Circle, we talk about we're not here to get you rich. We're not here to have teachings that you can apply in your respective life just to be rich. Rich should be like the bare minimum. Like when Shaq realized he was rich, but the owner of the Lakers was wealthy. And then the friends that he had were not only wealthy, but they were influent. They were talking about $1 billion deals while he was sitting there with, oh, I signed a contract for 120 million. Now, for some of us, we were sitting there, oh my God, this guy got a life-changing money. So you start to recognize between taxes and everything else and all, and just sometimes keeping up with the lifestyles, like, okay, yeah, that's a good piece of resource. We're not going to belittle it. But thank God he had the wisdom of listening to the right people and being teachable. Especially here at the Comeback Collective Circle, we're here about being teachable. How can we create those atmospheres where you can see how you can develop yourself? Some of these sobering truths, some of these things could be daunting. Could, get under the skin. Like, oh my God, you kind of rubbing me the wrong way. Good. The reason why I say good is that means there's something in you now saying, wait a minute, maybe the way I was moving wasn't really the correct way. And now that someone is at least being in conversation and dialogue with me about saying, wait a minute, you can be a little better. Nothing wrong with being better. Maybe if I apply myself and be consistent at certain actions, I can be better. Any thoughts before we move on to the next slide? I want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity if they so choose.
Yes, Dr. Clarke. I just wanted to reiterate that sometimes when people inherit money or win money and they still have the poverty mindset, that in a matter of months or a short period of time, they're back to being broke again because of the mind. They were given the economics, and because they didn't have a higher mindset, they went and lost all the money that they inherited and or won. I'm complete.
Thank you for that. They always say a money and a fool will be separated quickly. But money in the wise person's hand has the ability to multiply. I didn't say add. And that's another thing we have to start to dispel. You got to get out of this thing. Oh, I'm looking for something to add into my life. I'm looking for I'm looking for multipliers. When we start to recognize some of the things that are happening around us at this very moment are multipliers sent in our respective lives to say, okay, how can you apply this potential multiplier in your life? It's not adding something to you, it's multiplying. How can you use this thing to be a multiplier in your life? And then when you start finding out, wait a minute, okay, I can use this multiplier over here, and then you find another multiplier. Like, wait a minute, but while this multiplier over here is working, I can be working this multiplier. And all of a sudden, you got the first one working, now we got the second one working. All of a sudden, oh my God, you buck up upon a third one, or another one, or another one, and all of a sudden, your different levels of competency. Not saying that you have to run around there and be a master of all of these respective tools, but then you start to build a team around you that's like, wait a minute, okay, I need you to be knowing about this as a part of the overall team. Good. That's your mandate. Oh, you over here, use that multiplier to do X, Y, and Z. And all of a sudden we have more stuff to offer into the marketplace. Excellent. Okay, now how are we going to use this multiplier that assists us and how we're utilizing and making the investments and getting our name out there so people can hear about us and know about us. We can have the best things since sliced bread, but no one knows about us. And that's just as bad as having a bad product or a bad service. Because then people say, wait a minute, you do have something powerful to offer. How come no one knows about it? Are you avoiding visibility? Are you avoiding that level of ownership? Do you like overworking? Or do you like undercharging yourself? So the economic danger of a lie-dentity is so important. And every single day, you have to make sure you speak to that thing and let it know, you got no weight over here. Okay, financial integration number 2. Your assignment creates economic opportunity. Ms. Johnson, if you can read that sub paragraph, please.
Your calling is not separate from your financial life. It is your financial life. When you walk fully in God-given assignment, you generate value that the marketplace will reward. This is the divine economy in action.
Okay, and as you can see by this chart, we see the light bulb, that's your calling, that's your value. Then we can see, as we recognize, we always need collaboration in our life. And in the middle part, we're dealing with our value. Now we're talking about demand. You see, it's a handshake. That means how are you out there networking? How it is that you're out there speaking to others? How it is that you're starting to create those areas of possibility? And then the last circle deals with the fact of some coins. Because now the demand leads to compensation. So you find a calling, and your calling could be a cleaning business. Your calling could be the voice doctor. Your calling could be a cultural strategist that helps young men. Your calling could be, being a powerful name in a respective funeral business. Your name can be. That's your calling. Now, how do you turn that calling, which is your initial space of value? How do you get people to be in demand around you? How do people know that this is what you offer? Now we're working the middle ground. Middle ground is not good, it's not bad. You're working the middle ground. And then if you have enough people who recognize, wait a minute, there's a space in the marketplace that we can utilize what you're offering. Now we start talking about the compensation. And sometimes, especially when we look at one of the previous slides, when we were talking about survival mode, a lot of times people start with the compensation. Oh, they're going to pay me $20 an hour. And you sit there like, okay. Well, you break that down. $20 an hour, 40-hour a week, $800 a week. So you make a little under 42 grand a year. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm making money, making $20 an hour. The person who hired you for $20 an hour is getting about $100 or $120 worth of labor from you per hour. So who's really making the money? So you sit there and says, oh my God. That's where Shaq had his aha moment. He said, wait a minute. This is 1996, and the Lakers are calling, and I'm a free agent, and this man is willing to give me a 7-year contract and is willing to pay me $120 million over 7 years. One of the highest contracts at the time. Until he sat there and he signed the contract, and Magic Johnson was there, and everyone was, hovering around. And Magic Johnson just pulled his coat to and said, that's great. You got one of the biggest contracts in the history of the NBA. But then he started asking Magic certain questions. He said, Magic, you no longer da-da-da-da, but I've noticed your wallet's kind of expanding. You're not playing anymore. Oh, no, Mr. Bus connected me with this guy, and then this guy gave me, by networking with him, I was investing over here, and then I did some stuff over here, and then I brought some movie theaters in some urban areas because the movie theater companies were scared to bring the movie theaters in certain urban. So I partnered with them. And then, this coffee company didn't want to come into the hood. So I partnered with them. And then I started putting that in the hood. And that started to grow and make that money. And then eventually I started to sell those pieces off. Or started finding other individuals started recognizing, wait a minute, there's some money to be made here. See, money always chases ideas. So I see someone in the chat. Money always chases ideas. Amen. And so when we have it backwards, that we start looking for the money, how much they're going to pay me? You already been caught. Because now you're going to always be in that rut as an employee. Okay, I'm looking for more income. I'd rather own 10% of something. People say, oh my God, Dr. Clarke, that was real. You only own 10%. Okay. We can use the Curtis Jackson model. When during the time Vitamin Water was still a entity on its own. And 50 Cent, which is his stage name, was able, and they desired for him to, to support and promote their product. And he liked it, and this and that, they even made a flavor and a particular one of the vitamin waters named after him. He says, nah, you're not going to pay me. And this is where you start to see people start to recognize their worth and their value. He says, nah, don't pay me. I would like equity in the company. Because with me being equity in the company means I own a piece of this. If I own a piece of this, I'm going to promote the hell out of this thing, which he did. To the tune of when vitamin water got sold to the Coca-Cola company for $4 billion before taxes. You see that, he could have took, $2 or $3 million a year. I'm running around, saying I drink vitamin water. Or when the company got sold, his little 10% turned into $400 million before taxes. This is the type of application of, mindset that we have to be in. And to continue and to complete this slide, every problem God gave you the grace to solve represents a market, a group of people willing to exchange resources for your solution. Your solution. Your calling is not charity. It is kingdom currency designed to fund the mission and sustain your household. That's why when Dr. Cheryl said during that time frame when she's looking at the mirror and say 250. And depending upon the area, her 375 is just she's being very gracious. That 375 is really, for individuals at a particular level. Because for certain individuals, that number can be exponentially higher, depending upon the clientele, depending upon what type of services that they need, what type of handhold, what type of leadership, what type of interaction. Everything's always a negotiation. See, but employees can't really negotiate. Owners and stewards can. So then it goes back to mindset of choosing. What is your mindset? Or are you moving your identity, which just starts with the I, or if you move in your lie-identity, which starts with an L, which shows that you're already at a loss because you're already starting with an L. And choice is always yours. Choice is always yours. Identity truth. The creator versus the critic. When you doubt your calling after God has clearly spoken, you are not being careful. You are being contradictory. You are effectively saying to the engineer, what he built does not meet spec. That's like saying, Miss Johnson, I know you're into like programming and technology and stuff like that. You familiar with Python?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what would happen if you were building code in Python and you didn't believe in the code? What would happen with that code?
It would throw up errors. It would give unexpected results, and it would basically be a waste of my time.
Hmm. So sometimes we do that with the gifts and talents that we have received without repentance. And the reason why this all works in concert with each other, because we can't talk about the money without not talking about foundation. And there are times that we can be positioning ourselves to say, okay, you have a great possibility to be great in this marketplace, but you're just missing that one little thing. Where's your belief system? What is it that you believe in? Are you believing in the identity that was positioned within you? Or have you been experiencing all these things, regardless of your upbringing, regardless of what you were exposed to, regardless of your initial environments, and all the other stuff that we can say that creates all these scaffolds that starts to create a lie identity? All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'd rather just play small, be meek and mild, and no one knows me, and I'm going to live this pious life. Ain't no one told you to do that. You were conditioned to do that. But that's not your true nature. And you start to recognize that, wait a minute, I gotta break this thing. I gotta crack this thing over. I gotta jump through. I have to recognize, like, wait a minute, I'm not here to play small. I'm not here to minimize who I am just to make you feel comfortable. It says, wait a minute, I know who I am. Because I came from the I am. And if you know that, then it's like, wait a minute. Okay, it's not being preachy or biblical. It's just recognizing, wait a minute, whoa. Let's reframe this for a second. So if I really start believing in myself and I start making the necessary investments in myself, then I can switch this thing up and I can move from one particular mindset to another if you desire to be consistent at it and apply for yourself, not for other people. You're not doing it for the Joneses. You're doing it for, and you can put your name there in that blank space. Because if you know who you're doing it for, then you recognize then you have something that will emanate out of you. And going back to where we was on the last slide, when people go out there and say, yo, I'm just looking for this dollar amount, I need you to pay me X amount of dollars an hour, I'm looking for like $30 an hour, yo. Okay. Somebody turn around and says, yeah. It's depending upon what you're offering, as you're saying your skill set is, like, wait a minute. Okay, if we pay him $30 an hour, and if he does what he's supposed to do, and we put him in the right environment, give him the right tools and the right things that he has access to, he can make us about $200 an hour. Give him the $30 an hour. And while you're so happy, waiting every 2 weeks or however it is the money comes in, you see that direct deposit hits and the government done took their piece already and this, that, and there, and you're happy with what you have left over, is great. That person who's the owner or the steward is sitting there and says, okay, I made $200 an hour off of that one. I made $150 off of that one, and so on and so forth. Then you're wondering why he's driving the Bugatti or the Lamborghini in the parking lot, and you're trying to get your car fixed. Or your car doesn't look like that. But y'all walking into the same building. So this is the implicit statement beneath every episode of imposter syndrome, which we dealt with last week as part of the identity. It sounds humble, but functions as opposition. Your insecurity is not neutral. It actively contradicts divine intelligence and delays kingdom advancement. You are meant to be prosperous. You were never meant to live below your means, or whatever means that other people were attempting to put you in a box around. You have no ceiling. There's no glass that's sitting there saying that, okay, you can't pass this. Bust that thing open with whatever vigor you have. Because when you recognize if you are someone who claims to be a servant or a believer, I know who I serve is not in a box. I can't qualify. I have enough intelligence to say I can qualify and says I cannot say what God is. And that is excellent to know. Because that means I can't say God is just, no, can't do that. God is not just that. God is just, oh. Because see, each time you start to put certain things in a box just for your own parameters, now you've just limited yourself. Now you just respectfully accepted the identity. And you're going to walk around as an imposter until you remove that mask off your whole entire body. So the reframe. God is not confused about what he made. He does not call people accidentally. He does not assign tasks without embedded capacity. Remember that. Anything that you're called to do, it's not saying that it's going to be easy, but you do have the capacity to do it. Sometimes we can be casting or speaking spells or even cursing our own selves because I can't do this, I know I do that. You start going through all that mumbling like, wait, remember who you are. If it's something that you're weak in, staff it. Or work even more diligently harder on that aspect of who you are. But don't play small. To question your calling is to question his craftsmanship. Receive who he says you are and operate from that truth boldly. We are all powerful individuals. We are all mandated to be as prosperously successful, not only in resources, but in the desired life that we choose to create. So not only are we leaving a legacy, but we can have a bountiful life. Have life and do it more abundantly. Not meekly, not hiding, not small, not in the corner. And when we recognize that, we start moving towards that area that the Creator has already left for us to do. Is now all about our choosing power. If we choose that power confidently and correctly, then everything that we're looking to manifest shall manifest in our respective hands. Any thoughts before we go on to the next slide? Excellent. And the final slide for tonight, financial integration number 3. Ms. Johnson, can you read the title of this?
Wealth requires agreement.
You cannot steward what you have rejected. Say this again. You cannot steward what you have rejected. You cannot multiply what you doubt. Financial increase requires internal alignment first. The outer world responds to the inner world you have constructed through belief. And I always liken and harken back to what Dr. Cheryl does, especially with the ladies who join her for the Power Call each and every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on her platform. Once again, that's at Dr. Cheryl Clarke. And you start to recognize that if you're not building up those particular internal structures or having that alignment inside of yourself, I can give you $1 billion right now and it'll disappear in a matter of moments because you can't handle it. Not even just from a mental space, just from the fact of the matter of how do you maneuver with this confidently and appropriately. So, as you can see in the beginning, got the tiny little piggy bank, the bank account, the tangible, visible result of aligned beliefs and behaviors compounding over time. So, if your bank account is small, you've just seen the tangible, visible results of your aligned beliefs and behaviors that have compounded over time. No one's keeping you back. No one's keeping you small. Your bank account will assist in showing where's your belief system. Coming to you, Miss Johnson. Matter of fact, since you put your hand up while I was saying that, let's get the thought while the thought is good. Yes, Miss Johnson.
Yeah, so what does a real world example of you cannot steward what you rejected look like? Like me giving you $1 million and then you lighting it on fire? Like, what is it? What does that look like?
Let's see. You receive the gift and talent to say be an author. And by you writing that book starts to give you notoriety and fame. And with the notoriety and fame, the resources start to come behind it. And then you start to recognize, okay, how do I keep this thing going? What's the level of consistency? I can keep doing book tours. I can keep talking at speaking engagements. And then the speaking engagements, I'm getting paid from that. But say you did not write the book, or you have the book and you never publish it. So you got a gift that you have the ability to amplify. But the reason why you keep rejecting it, because there's no stewardship over it. Who knows about your book? Oh, people say I'm a good writer. Okay, how many people know that you're a good writer? Well, okay, here we go. The identity is starting to come up to the surface. Because now we're going to give the ums, the ahs, we're going to give the great story to the reason why the thing that's within you, you have rejected. And then it's like, okay, now we're always playing catch up. Instead of saying, you know what? Even if I fall forward or fail forward, that's still forward. Because everything in life is a risk. If you're not willing to take the risk, what are you doing it for? Oprah had to take a risk. When Quincy Jones saw her, even though she was just on her burgeoning career as a talk show host, Quincy Jones was one of the producers of The Color Purple. He said, "Wait a minute, that's she can play that character." And that opened up a whole variety of other opportunities and expanded the brand, the Oprah brand. That one part. It went from her just being initially a newscaster to now that she has a syndicated talk show. And now she's, wait a minute, oh, did an excellent job as an actress. Okay, that adds to the repertoire. That adds to the wealth potential. That adds to the opportunities. That adds to the visibility. That adds to the expansion. But we can go back and say, oh, it all started from here being a newscaster, her reading copy and talking about the news in Baltimore. Then them firing her saying that, she's too fat and black. Who want to get the news from some fat black woman? And lo and behold, so many moons later, she's one of the pillars of how people say, wait a minute, see that woman right there? I have no problem moving in a way that she has allowed her aspiration, and then she built a team around her because of her personal partnerships and then those of her team to effectively allow herself to grow and to expand into where she is at this particular moment. So hopefully I answered your question.
You did. Essentially quitting before step one. So yeah.
Yeah. And behavior, disciplines, decisions, and daily actions that reflect a stewardship mentality. Spending, saving, investing wisely, even though I should have put there circulating. So bad grade. But your disciplines, what are you disciplined around? And I'm not talking about, like, I'm disciplined in going to the gym, but there's other parts that I can get even more disciplined around. And when I can be respectful to myself to be like, yo, there are places that I can still work on. I may be disciplined over here, and then I got to take some of that same discipline and start applying it over here. The discipline is just a discipline. Now it's about how you focus it. And then that will lead into the different decisions that we all make daily. Because those decisions are influences of saying, you know, how we're actualizing these disciplines, which turn into those decisions. Am I doing the exact same thing and looking for a different result? That's the lunacy part. Makes no sense. Which will lead into my daily actions. So behavior is a big, big component. And then finally, belief. The foundational agreement with God's identity assignment, the root from which everything grows. Not the lie-identity, not the disbelief, not the thing that people spoke over you, you dumb, you stupid, this and that, because those will lead to a lie-identity. Heard enough times, you're fat, you're black, you're ugly, you're this, and that, that. All of a sudden, that stuff starts scaffolding. It starts creating an identity. Your ego starts shaping it into an identity that at times, part of it, they would say that the identity would be there to be a protector because you've been hurt and you've been misused and you've been spoken all these ill words. And then some people will take that stuff and be like, you know what, I'm going to take all this negativity that you thought was negative, which probably still was, but now I'm a transform that energy. That's why you can respect the Oprah Winfrey. She could have got caught up and believed what those people have said in Baltimore. You never had the Oprah Winfrey show, and she would not have had the life that she was able to experience afterwards. If she would have believed the identity that someone attempted to put in themselves, put her in. So her belief system was big enough to say, wait a minute, yeah, maybe on a little bit of the big side. Yeah, I'm a black woman. Yeah, but I have something to say. I have enough belief in myself to say, you know, I got something to say. The same way like how Montel Williams was a Navy officer and stuff like that, and started doing the book tour, and all of a sudden someone came to him one day and says, wait a minute, you have the ability to interact with people. People gravitate towards you. What happens if we give you a daily show? And if I'm not mistaken, that daily show lasted almost 20 years. Did he believe in himself? He darn sure did. Did that belief move into shaping his behavior, which affected his bank account? Oh, of course it did. When we talk about the wealth alignment framework, belief, behavior, bank account. The sequence is non-negotiable and cannot be reversed. What do you believe in? Has to start with yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to recognize the power that is already inertly within you and start to apply it and start to multiply it. Behavior, how disciplined are you? What are you willing to do on a concurrent basis that even if it feels like the flywheel in your life is not moving, but you know that you're moving 0.1% better than you were yesterday? That's progress. Stop always looking to hit home runs. Sometimes some singles, sometimes a bunt is good. Yes, I'm giving you some baseball analogies. You don't always have to swing for the fence. But if you get on base, anything can happen. If you don't get on base, nothing will happen, which will lead to your bank account ultimately. You see, your bank account will start to reflect how much belief and what type of behaviors you start to manifest. And if you stay within that respective sequence, you can see something happen in your life if you choose to apply it. With that being said, I am complete. Any thoughts before we start to bring this to a close, as we're going to respect everyone's time? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Any feedback? Any feedback from Ms. Johnson, Miss Dr. Cheryl Clarke? Amen. I see Miss McIntyre's in the building. Welcome. You've been here for a while. Welcome. Mr. Franklin's in the building. No thoughts? Excellent. So as always, as we're about to bring this to a close, you do have a way that you can support the platform. And that is, if you choose to do it via Cash App, you can go $ Gregory Clark D Min. If you choose to do it via Venmo, you drop the $ and it's Gregory Clark D Min. Or if you choose to be a financial blessing to this particular platform, you can do it via Zelle or PayPal, and it's the same email address, esquire971@gmail.com. And finally, for those of you who may need some technological tools, because this will even work for some of my brethren them down in the Caribbean, you can go to this website at galaxy.ai/ref equals Gregory. That is my affiliate link. They have some great tools there. Some of the tools that some of you maybe who are with me in other platforms, you start to be surprised. If you make the investment in yourself, how powerful, how magnificent you can start to create certain things and certain structures around you. So until next week, where I'll probably be coming to you from sunny Florida, as we'll be moving and shaking, and myself and Dr. Cheryl Clarke will finally take some time and celebrate our 31 years together, but we'll still find time to still be with our peoples. This is Dr. Gregory Clark Sr. saying, continue to apply the wisdom, continue to apply the systems, continue to allow your behaviors to manifest, continue to be disciplined. And if you can do all that, then the resources and the money will follow you. Don't chase the money. Have the money chase you. Have a great week. Can't wait to see you all next week, and have a great day.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.